Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to What is America to You. I'm your host, Derek Dempsey, and we're coming at you from New York. And when I say we, I mean me and Jessica. My girl right there. Okay, so as usual, we ask you, please subscribe to the channel. We're up to 191 subscriptions, so let's break 200 today. 200! And also give us a like. And we love the comments. We're getting a lot of regular comments like Sam and my sister-in-law, Karen. We love that. So keep the comments going. All right. Our next guest is a true force of nature. He's a journeyman, a real-life soul survivor, and a soul man. When his mother took him to see James Brown at the Apollo Theater in Harlem, he knew in that moment that performing on stage and singing was what he would do for the rest of his life, and that's exactly what he has done. Later in his career, he got to portray his hero, James Brown, in Barry Levinson's movie, Liberty Heights. He's been on a world tour now for 15 years or more. It's taken him from Turkey to Tasmania, Finland, all the way back to his home in Harlem. If you close your eyes when he's doing James Brown's It's a Man's World, it's the closest you're going to get to seeing James Brown, the Godfather of Soul now. Also, his cover of Hotel California blew my mind. I'm like, what the hell? It made me think. See that one. Yeah, it made me. I was thinking, is Don Felder from Harlem or Florida? Yeah, it's unreal, and the dancing. And we've been in the same room performing. It's a mind blow. So look, I can say a lot more, but I won't. Except, without further ado, we want to introduce to you Mr. Soul Man, Carlton Jamal Smith. Welcome to What is America to You. How are you?
I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here. Man, listening to you talk, you got me blushing. I'm too black to blush, but I was blushing. Okay.
You know what they say? They say black don't crack and black don't blush. You look like you're 30 fucking 5.
I gotta lose some weight, man. I look even younger, but thank you. Thank you very much.
You look
my
great.
daughter just turned 17 yesterday. That's my baby.
Yeah, I love it. And you met my daughter who's 23.
Yeah,
And I love the fact that you got your mother and your daughter in the background, because I know that you're a man who truly respects and adores women, and I love that.
Oh my God! But that starts with my mother. That's one of the persons my mother taught me. You know, so and in addition to so many other things. But women, I always say we'd be lost without you. Sometimes you may be the bane of our existence, but ladies, we men would be lost without you. Trust me, okay?
Hey, wait, it's a man's world, but it wouldn't be nothing
without a woman or a girl.
There you go.
Amen.
And I know we've talked about this before, and you said at one stage that about women, like what you just said there. What would we be without them? And I know what it was you said. What we have to understand is that we don't truly understand women, and I mean that with all respect.
Yeah. And we're not, you know, and the shame of it all is that, and I tell women this all the time, I've had to explain this to my daughter who just recently went through the first boyfriend drama thing, is that we men are the most insecure creatures on the planet. And we mask it with all sorts of macho, bravado, foolishness that really means nothing. You know, so it's like women, you just have to play us like we're little boys, like we're still our mother's sons, because that's what we are. We're our mother's sons. You know what I mean?
It's a dance.
You got to use a psychological mind trick with us, and it works You want us to get up and paint the house? Don't ask us to paint the house, because we're watching a game or we're eating. You come in there and say, my love, it turns me on so much when I see you with a paintbrush in your hand. We'll paint the house, the garage. We'll paint the neighbor's house. Okay? You know what I'm saying?
When you say a paintbrush in your hand, was that a euphemism? Let's move on.
We're going to leave that alone. We're not doing phallic symbols today.
I got one right in front of me here. So listen, I love what you said to my daughter. You said your dad is the white version of me. The white version. There's a Freudian slip. You remember what you said to her?
Yeah. You know what? And sometimes I feel bad about that, and here this not so much that particular statement, but you read these things all the time. And now we're going to get into some America, so to speak. Here's some conversation. You ready,
Absolutely.
D?
I'm ready.
Okay.
We're ready.
More often than not, growing up, we always heard, "Oh, they're the black so and so. they're the black so-and-so. You know, when the Osmond brothers first came out, oh, they're, no, when the Jackson 5 first came out, oh, they're the black Osmond brothers. And when you say that, it gives the impression that being black or something that's black isn't universal. You know, just recently when Bill Withers passed away, someone said, oh, he was the black Bruce Springsteen. I'm like, no, he wasn't. And so why does something always have to be the black version of something? So, I mean, I made that statement, but then I almost felt bad about having made it, you know, but I meant it from we both dress, we both perform well, you know what I'm saying? You get on stage, Derek, and your whole thing is, I must entertain this crowd. It's not so much about listen how pretty I sing or how many riffs and runs I can do. My thing is to connect with everybody in this audience and make you believe that I believe what I'm singing. And you do that exceptionally well. And I like to think that that's what I do.
Oh, you do?
So that's what I mean by very similar. So maybe I should have said the white, black version.
No, I think it was great. Carlton, imagine that both of us were black or both of us were white. We would still say we're like brothers. It just so happens that I have a different pigment than you have besides the historical. And we will get back to that because I got a couple of quotes from you about that, but I want to go through one or two things.
One of them specifically.
You do, right? We're coming to that. It's great. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Right. I'm fascinated, as a lot of people are. You don't drink, don't smoke, and don't drug. However, could you tell us about that incident you had in the airport in Turkey?
Oh, my God. And this isn't to necessarily knock anyone that does drink, smoke, or do drugs. There are reasons, psychological, physical, environmental, for people who are struggling with those addictions. I just never liked the taste of alcohol, never liked the taste of nicotine, whatever. Yes, in junior high school, I tried weed, I tried all that stuff, but all it did was make me want to eat more. You know what I'm saying? I just never, and the whole drug thing, I knew better to go down that path, okay? Absolutely. Like I said, we all experimented with something, but I knew, okay, now this isn't for me. No, thank you, and I'm good. So I'm living and working out of Turkey after 10 years living and working out of China. Okay, that's a whole nother story. And I was going to do a show. This one promoter wanted me to do a show, and it was just too much. You know, they say if something is too good to be true, then it is. You know, and I decided I would go with the promoter that I knew, the devil that I know, so to speak. And I chose to work with them. So I'm in the airport. We get ready to fly to Antalya. All of a sudden, I'm surrounded by some really scruffy-looking guys. One of them says, show me your passport. I had a few choice words from him, basically, and asking him to leave the premises. Get the fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? Because, and that's the thing about Turkey. The cop, there are no fat policemen. Everybody there is in great shape. And there are no shootings. They much rather run after you and beat the shit out of you when they catch you. They'll give you 10 blocks. They'll give you a head start. They'd much rather run after you. Yeah. So they all look like these scruffy guys, and you won't know anything is wrong until you do something and they appear. So I'm surrounded. I'm like, yo, what do you mean showing my passport? Man, get away from me. And then the promoter, the agent I was with, runs over Carlton. These are the police. Something's wrong. And he said, we got a tip that you're smuggling drugs into the country. I'm like, are you kidding me? I said, let me tell you who your tip came from. I know exactly where this is coming from. And what was so embarrassing is that I was prior to that, I've been talking to a young soccer team from some other country. Bunch of kids were laughing, joking, high-fiving. So when all of a sudden they see me surrounded by the cops and I get marched off, I just felt like, damn, what a negative image. That's probably what they've been told about black guys all the time anyway, you know? So they take me in the back and they're going through my bag with a fine-tooth comb. He's giving me an evil look. I'm looking right back at him. I know not to really say anything because I don't want to escalate the situation. Prior to him going through my bag, he puts on a rubber glove. My first thought is, okay, I'm not going home because I am not going to let him violate me like that. Yeah. That's what I thought was going to happen. So we're going to have to fight him. What kind of fight he was putting it on just to go in my bag. At this point, here come two undercover agents. They come back in with my luggage. I got two big suitcases that had already been put on the plane. And they're opening it, going through their pinging the handle to see if they're hollow with drugs in them. And they're just going on and on. The little Turkish agent of mine, her name is Rayhan, bless her heart. She's in there talking a mile a minute, telling them that, look, this is phoned in by a rival promoter. Yeah. This is, BS. He doesn't, finally the agents going through my luggage, they get tired of it. She told me later on, they looked up and they were like, come on, who phoned this in? This is bullshit. There's nothing in here but sequin shirts and patent leather boots, man. Who did this? You're wasting. Somebody's probably going through right now with 3 kilos while we're in there playing around with, you know what I'm saying, with leather pants. So then there's a bunch of detectives and other agents who were in this other room, they kept running out looking at me, kept going back and forth. And I found like, Graham, what's going on in there? She goes to this room, she comes back and says, oh my God, they're looking at you on YouTube and saying, that's him? That's him? That's him? Because I had done some shows with some famous Turkish stars. I didn't know how famous they were, but I did some shows. There's one guy there he's like the Robert De Niro of Turkey. And he's also a recording artist. But I didn't know who he was. I just saw him at my first, the after party for my first show in Turkey, and he slumped over a couch, high out of his mind. So I walked over to him and smacked him in the head. Hey, yo, man, get up, wake up, it's a party, who are you? And everybody was, oh my God, that's Halim Sezai. That's Halim Sezai. Who the is Halim Sezai? You know, so, but he loved me from that moment on because I didn't care who he was. My thing, yo, man, wake up, man, it's a party. So when they saw me with Halim Sezai and some of these other guys, they're just flipping. Now they realize this has been a big mistake. Let's just get this out of here. Do you want to press charges against them? No, you fine officers. I know you work hard enough. I would just like to get out of here so I can go do my show. If you could just put us on the plane. They got us on the plane, the best seats. Do you want to have tea? Blah. I'm good. I just want to get out of it. Thank you all for your service. Blah, 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 blah. And one day I'm going to see that promoter again someplace and let them know that, and let them know how I felt about that, you know?
Well, you know, it's a scary story. I had an experience slightly similar going to Vegas one time, and my guitar is hollowed out in a certain area because somebody put a battery in the wrong place. Same thing, gloves and everything. And I said, look, I know you're doing your job, but they said, we have to take you into this room. And I said, no problem, but there has to be two of you. So I went into the room and they were like, what's the hole in the guitar for? I said, I'm gonna start at the beginning. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't drug. So that is a fact. I'm telling you that looking in the eye. And I think they kind of went, okay. And they said there was what seemed like explosives on your hand. But I think sometimes that's just bullshit. Look, I'm not black, but I've got long hair. It's nowhere near being black. I'm aware of that.
But for some people, it's close enough. You know what I'm saying? It's close enough.
Yeah.
You start to think of all the trouble, all the static the Beatles got when they first came over because they had long hair. You look back at that now, and it just seems so silly. But then again, most prejudices and preconceived notions are silly. You know what I mean?
True. For the record of Carlton, for anybody listening, I wouldn't compare having long hair and dressing unusual because I don't have a history of what happened to black people. So just for anybody listening, I'm not even close. That's why I'm reluctant to say it. But we'll come back to that again. I wanted to ask you, speaking of one of the greatest stars that ever lived, and I know he's a huge influence, Sam Cooke.
Oh, yeah.
Sam Cooke. I know you're live at Harlem Squares, an album that you probably know.
Well, you got to get live at the Copa first and listen to that, which is him in front of a white supper club audience. Then get live at Harlem Square Club, which is him in front of a Friday night black audience. And even though some of the songs are the same, they're as different as chalk and cheese. It's amazing. And I regret I never got to see Sam Cooke live, but I am proud to say I'm friends with one of the Womack brothers, who, as you know, were his proteges.
Yes,
I'm friends with the last Womack brother that's alive, Friendly Womack. And my God, they tell me wonderful. You always hear nothing but wonderful stories about Sam Cooke. And if you ever want to really have your heart broken, there's a book called The Road to Redemption by B.G. Rule, R-H-U-L-E. She wrote, and it lays out in vivid detail the last hours of his life. And it's not at all what the official story is.
Not at all.
It's heartbreaking that they would do that to that man, you know?
Carlton, I watched, I'm a huge Sam Cooke fan. I've been for years. I've read books about him. And that
Did
whole...
you read Road to Redemption by B.G.?
No, I haven't. I read the Peter Goralnik one. I will read that now because I have to.
Dream Boogie, was it? Something like that?
Oh, Dream Boogie was the one about the whole soul, Memphis soul. But
no.
I could be wrong.
But B.G. Rule's book. I'll send you a link for that. You got to read that one, man.
But the point I was going to make was I watched the two killings of Sam Cooke, and it makes me boil. It boils my blood. And Sam Cooke was a businessman. He was a genius. He was one of the most. To me, he was the father of soul. James Brown was the godfather. Sam Cooke, he went from like touch the hem of my gown right back in Keane Records, and then all of a sudden he comes out with "You Send Me," and he changed everything.
Let me tell you a couple of interesting things. First of all, here's a cute little story. Sam Cooke's daughter, Linda Womack, married Bobby Womack's brother. They were a big group, Womack and Womack. You know of them. They had big hits. They were bigger in Europe.
Teardrops on the dance floor.
Yeah, I saw them. They were appearing as the guest artists for an amateur night at the Apollo Theater. I would say, amateur night at the Apollo. And they were the guest stars. After they left the stage, they went back to amateur night. Young white guy in a tuxedo, he comes out and he sings "You Send Me." And I just knew, I said, I don't think he knows. So after the show, I came over to him, I told him, the group that came on before you, that girl, Sam Cooke, is her father. And he almost urinated on himself. He says, I'm so glad you didn't tell me that before.
Yeah.
You could see the color leaving. Oh, you see, yeah, man, her father is Sam Cooke. But you did good. You did good, son. Now, as far as Ray Charles is really the father of soul. Right. He's the person to take gospel and blend it with the secular. But Sam Cooke came right behind him. Now, James Brown, that nickname, the Godfather of Soul, it's become legendary, blah, 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 blah. But let me tell you where it began. James Brown scored a movie, he did the music score for a movie called Black Caesar. And the tagline, as they show him in the pimp hat and the pimp car, Fred Williamson, he's bad, he's black, he's mad, he's the Godfather of Harlem, and he's coming to get you. Black Caesar. Music done by the Godfather of Soul. They just did it as a joke.
Yeah, yeah.
And this DJ in Baltimore said, yeah, he's the Godfather. So that's how it stuck. James Brown he's the king of rhythm and blues. That's really what it is. Yeah, he's considered a soul singer, but he's more so the king of rhythm and blues. And he invented funk, which gave way to hip hop. Early on in hip hop, you didn't make a hip hop record unless it had a James Brown sample. Every hip hop record had a James Brown sample. Now, as influential as Elvis and the Beatles and people like that may have been, nobody took their records and formed a whole nother genre. They were taking James Brown's records. That's
Funky
how great
Drummer.
that man was.
What was that tune? Funky Drummer.
Funky Drummer, the most sampled Clyde Stubblefield.
George Michael used it.
Yeah, everyone did. You hear it in commercials.
Yeah.
And I met Clyde Stubblefield once. He said, if I'd known it's going to be what it's going to be, I would have played it better. That was just a little something. Because that song wasn't even a hit single for James Brown. Yeah. Funky Drummer wasn't a hit. It's just the drum break that everybody used. He said, I would have played it better. But I said, no, you did what needed to be done.
He did it perfect. You know? Perfect. Now, I actually met Bobby Womack's daughter at a gig when give me a few names. I can't remember. And a beautiful looking girl.
Regina?
No.
Tracy?
No. One more.
I don't know. There may be a few more. You know how those guys were.
Yeah. Bobby Womack.
Maybe a few.
Fly Me to the Moon. You know his version of Fly Me to the Moon?
Did you ever see me do it at Joe's Pub? I'm going to send it to you.
I didn't. Please send it to me. But
I destroyed it. I had a ball with it.
I know. But you know what I love when he goes, I love the guitar playing. He's a great guitar player, Bobby Womack. Yeah. But I love he's what?
That's how he made his living. After he married Sam Cooke's wife, they threw his records in the garbage. They wanted nothing to do with them. So all those Wilson Pickett, Aretha Franklin, all those records, that's Bobby Womack playing guitar. Yeah.
Well, I think what he did marrying Sam Cooke's wife was wonderful. I mean, I personally think that, they lost a child in the swimming pool when he was 5, and that destroyed their marriage. The kid walked out and...
We're going to talk about that off camera, okay?
Okay, all right. Maybe we let it die if that's bad.
All right, I'll give you some inside info. It wasn't as wonderful as it could have been.
Okay, all right. Well, that's true.
We all make mistakes. We all do,
Well, Fly Me to the Moon, man. When I listen to that, I lose my mind. It's like, anyway.
He did his thing, man.
This will lead us great into, you got a lot of high energy. I got a lot of high energy. We cancel each other out when we're in the same room. So I'll ask you this. I've had a form of insomnia all my life. I find it very difficult to sleep. What about you?
Oh, no, I'm okay with that. My sleeping patterns have been off for the past 15 years because, just traveling all over. China, Norway, Switzerland, Russia, whatever, Finland, places where it's daylight 23 hours a day, and then, stuff like that. So my sleeping patterns are always off. So I don't have insomnia, and I will go to sleep, but just not, when I should, I guess.
Right. So yours comes more from being an entertainer. I got the twofold.
Yeah.
Just sleep, man, to me is I gotta do a Cecil B. DeMille. I gotta have this whole setup to get to sleep. And then add that to...
Are you doing the lavender oil in a humidifier and all of that?
I have a humidifier, a noise machine, certain oil. I won't take any pills. I have to calm down my brain. I try to fool myself, but lately I've been interviewing people as I fall asleep. But look, it's a crazy energy, and I just know that you have that energy too.
Oh yeah, it's born out of passion.
That's
and a love for what it is we do. You know what I'm saying?
I don't want to sleep.
Passionate about it. I know what you mean.
I want to keep learning.
My mother used to say, "You're afraid you're gonna miss out on something."
Carlton, you won't believe. My mother used to say that about me, and my wife Lisa, you met her. Her mother used to say that about her, which, you know, that's why you met her. She got the smile that takes over the universe. Yeah. Okay, that was the end of part 1 with Carlton Jamal Smith, and it gets better. The energy is just unreal. Yeah. And when you hear the rest of it, we'll be right back with part 2.
Driving along, minding my own business, heading east through the Kentucky rain. There on the radio, Johnny Cash was singing. I heard myself just to see if I still feel pain.